Welcome to a topic I care a lot about. Where is democracy going? My name is Michael Ohler and I share this together with my colleagues from Go Consulting. Well, first, you may be like this person here. You have your swim lane in life, you have your task. And this person is in charge of 11 people and chooses to speak up. He says, "What I see going on these days, I think if you don't get up, then you haven't understood a thing. We need to be very, very clear about what we stand for." This is Christian Streich, football coach of the football club in Freiburg here in Germany. Some other people choose to go to the streets and say, never ever again we want 1933 to happen. So you may ask, well, should I go to the street? I have my job, and in my job I have a role, and well, that doesn't really blend with me going to the streets. Well, you may want to think twice. I know of people high up in organizations who met all together at a recent demonstration in Saarland. People out of politics, CEOs of companies met on the street and said, well, let's meet this Saturday while we walk the streets for democracy. So you also can, and there's nothing bad about it, on the very contrary. You may ask, well, we live in the year 2024, and what is so special about this year? Well, here is something that is indeed special, because 2024 is the biggest election year in human history. We have national elections in about 40 countries, affecting about 50% of the world's population and 40% of the worldwide gross domestic product. So what's the point, you may ask? Isn't that great news? Why should we go to the streets to demonstrate for democracy? Is it endangered? Is democracy endangered? Let me share with you. So you all remember the storm on the Capitol in the United States. People here in Germany may remember that 6 months earlier we had something similar going on in Germany. Here is the Reichstag in August 2020. You may say, well, Michael, yes, these are nasty events and they should not happen, but there is nothing really dramatic about it, right? Where is the big revolution? And probably some 50 years ago, you might have been right, because in the old days, democracies used to die with big loud bang. Here we see the last hours of Salvador Allende in front of the presidential palace in Argentina. A coup happened, Pinochet took over, and this indeed did happen with a big loud bang. However, nowadays, creeping processes are at work. It's going slowly, step by step. Things get eroded. Let's have a look. This is just one out of many examples. I pick Venezuela. In terms of fundamental rights, Venezuela has never been in the top league. Here, this would be Denmark, very consistent year over year. But, well, Venezuela was maybe in the top 30%, and then Hugo Chavez took over and slowly things degraded and continued to degrade under Nicolas Maduro. So this is how things go on. Yeah, this is what happens today. Here in the background you see all the other countries, just to be able to quickly compare Venezuela to all the rest of them. Another thing, modern dictators are cool. Well, you may say, Michael, you're kidding me. This can't be true. Dictators are not cool. And in the old days, you may have been right, but have a look here. This is Nayib Bukele, the self-proclaimed coolest dictator in the world and president of El Salvador. He was elected in June 2019 and recently re-elected with 85% of the votes. El Salvador has been going through decades of violence. When Bukele was elected, 16% of El Salvador's GDP were sacrificed to gang violence. We had a murder rate of about 51 per 100,000 people of the population, and he was able to reduce that to just 3. So of course people re-elected him. Of course people across South America admire him. But look at the price the country is paying. About 8% of the male young population are in prison. And we don't quite understand how his inner power circle works, but probably his brothers have a big say. So, well, let's see where this country and where this governance is going over the next couple of years. For us in Europe, there is the mother of all questions, because we are asking, how could this happen? If you come from other parts of the world, you may have come up with this question much, much earlier at other examples, but we had our wake-up call here. How can thousands and thousands of people be enthusiastic about a war proclaimed by their own country on another country? Let's have a closer look, because you may say, well, nobody has seen that coming. And is that true? So let's investigate. Because I remember now a conversation I had back in 1999, and we were looking ahead. I was with a friend. He works for a big German newspaper since those days, and he's in charge of the politics in Eastern Europe. So here back in 1999, he said, it isn't going the right way in Russia. And I said, why? I mean, don't you see here the winds of change that have happened, and now we have a completely different Russia. It's, very, very different. And he said, that is true. But see where they are coming from. They went through the first Chechen war. Then Putin got elected. The second Chechen war started. I wasn't convinced that night, but I continued to observe starting from them. And, well, we observed, and you may remember the sinking of the Kursk, this nuclear-powered submarine. It was very strange what happened around that. We saw a different type of government leading that cause. Well, strange event. Then Putin was in the German Bundestag. He spoke to us in German. A very unique event. We were full of hope again. We thought, wow, these are very different times. Read the speech these days, and you see that he set already the tone for years and years to come. Well, then there was this 5-day war in Georgia, and we thought, that was bad, yes indeed, but would a small country like Georgia really need to risk angering a big neighbor like Russia? Must have been their mistake, right? Then the Maidan happened. And again, we understood Putin may have been angered. This might not have been the right thing to do, to orientate the country of Ukraine so much towards Europe and so much against Russia. So in a way, some people understood or said, well, I understand why he would annex Crimea and why volunteers showed up in Donbass. Then MH17 got shot down. So we took action, and there were the Minsk 1 and 2 negotiations, and we all hoped that peace in our times was secured, and thanks to that we signed the Nord Stream 2 contract, securing gas supplies for Europe. We observed Russia intervening in the Syria civil war with all the brutality going on. We could have read Putin's document about the historical unity of Russia and Ukraine and chose either not to read it or to ignore the content. So is it true that we couldn't see that coming? We need to see these things coming. And the question now is, how do I explain that to my child? How do I explain it to my neighbor, to my colleagues? How do I discuss this when I see a conversation coming up? Well, one possibility would be to have a very simple understanding of what democracy is. And here's one. This is Churchill saying, "When my doorbell rings at 6 in the morning, I am sure that this is not the secret police or a gang or anybody else. It's just a milkman. And if that happens, well, then I live in a democracy." This is one way to explain it to a child. You see that in danger? Well, take action. Here's another way to explain to your children, to your neighbor, to your friend, what democracy is about. Because there are organizations out there that collect data meticulously. Here, this is the global state of democracy collected by an organization called IDEA. You find their webpage here. You can download the data. You can access their visualizations. And you can get a view about the state of democracy worldwide. Well, I believe in the power of visualization, and I thought, can I create a child-friendly dashboard for countries using these data? And here you go. Well, if you want to take away something from this presentation here are 5 things. Because this is, in a way, the essence of what democracy is about. You want your fundamental rights guaranteed. You want your government to be representative of the people who are governed. You want to see checks on the government. You want an impartial administration, and you want the possibility to participate, to engage. Now you may say, and I just take one example, Michael, the guarantee of fundamental rights. Yeah, I see, but that is kind of an abstract concept. What do you mean exactly? Well, and what I mean exactly is I mean access to justice. I mean civil liberties, and I mean social rights and equality. All this is coming from IDEA global state of democracy. And you may say, well, civil liberties, yeah, I understand, but that is kind of a fuzzy concept. What do you exactly mean? You see here, this is a drill down and this is a further drill down. And all the color codings that you see here, yellow would be highest degree, purple would be lowest degree. All this color coding gives you a view on where things stand. 2018 for the case of Germany. The app here, freely available, easily to access, allows you to visualize for any year since 2017 and for all the countries on the earth where the status is. There are a few more functionalities built into this Let me call that a first prototype of the app, and you can explore yourself. So if you want to take things away today, remember those 5: fundamental rights, representative government, checks on the government and impartial administration, and participatory engagement, and judge your own government on that basis. How much of that do you get? And here to the key point, because we are not just responsible for the things that we do, we are also responsible for the things that we don't do. So if you choose not to act today, we are in charge of something. We may be in charge of not acting, and we may be accused by later generations of not taking action now. Well, if you want to find out whether or not to take action and where to take action and when to speak up, here's a small guideline. I'm not going through all of this. It comes from that book that I've quoted before, How Democracies Die. Let me just take one example recently observed in Germany. So, how do you speak about your political opponent? Here's an example. One politician in Germany during, a Frühschoppen, an early morning meeting with in the public, talked about his political opponent in the following way. He said, "Well, look here at my dog. My dog has recently completed the dog school. And look at that other opponent of mine. He has given up on his university studies. So shouldn't my political opponent here take a great example at my dog? Yeah, because the dog completed the dog school." Well, it was meant to be funny, maybe. But what do we do here? We compare people to animals. And we denigrate political opponents in that way. Maybe for this politician there was no major consequence. He didn't have many things in mind, but other people observing this see this as an example and build on it. So this is the start or the continuation of a creeping slow descent. So if you hear that, if you see that, take action, speak up. Just be very clear, this is not the way we want to talk about other people. Another thing you may want to observe is the abolition of democracy tends to disguise itself as its salvation. And today it comes from elected representatives. So watch those who say, "I am defending democracy here in the name of the people. It's going in the wrong direction and I'm saving it in my way." Well, that may just be the start of the abolition of democracy. Watch out, observe, listen. Thank you for your attention. If you want to get in touch with us, you find here my email. I'm also frequently blogging on this topic, on environmental topics, society and economy topics. Well, check out, it's in German, but with modern techniques you can certainly find a translation. I thank you for your attention.